This show is sponsored by Alicia's Pillows and Things. Check out the Facebook page, Alicia's Pillows and Things, where you will find home decor you will not be able to resist at prices anybody can afford. Check out the pillows and stools of your favorite sports teams. Maybe you want a set of your kid's favorite cartoon or movie character. You can also get full body and neck pillows as well. Log on to ngscsports.com and go to the Alicia's Pillows and Things tab on the homepage to complete your order. It makes a great gift for Christmas at an affordable price. NGSC Sports. We never stop.
You're listening to NGSC Sports Radio. Hear us live on ngscsports.com, where you can get awesome analysis for all things sport. Or check out our podcasts on iHeartRadio, Spreaker, iTunes, TuneIn, and much more. For our latest videos, head to NGSC Sports YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter at NGSC Sports and like us on Facebook. NGSC Sports. We never stop.
A dead jam band.
Oh my god, that'd be so tight.
Bro, I'm popping that collar is all I can say.
Oh my god, do you have your jorts?
Oh, I've got some jorts and some Sperry's.
Oh my god, that's so hype. Maybe take a hack sack.
Oh wait, we're crossing too many things now.
Yeah, I know.
We're crossing way too many genres at this point.
We've become some sort of hipster, hippie...
An amalgamation.
Yeah, it's all hip. That's what
I don't know what.
It's very, very unclear, to be truthful.
Yes, it's very
but you know what's not unclear?
What's that?
It's the teams that will be playing in the National Champions Cup, which we'll be talking about and try not to laugh too much about on this edition of the A Foreign Affair Podcast, episode 254. Welcome, everyone. I am Edward Green, joined as always by my call in crime, Wes Bradshaw, where we are going to talk about the ICC news that hit today, delivered by none other than Jason Sudeikis. Because
Ted Lasso.
See, that's the thing. He wasn't even being Ted Lasso. He was.
Oh, really?
It was just Jason Sudeikis.
Well, it is only the International Champions Cup.
It's true. We only break that out for big things.
And once you hear the teams that are in it, you'll totally understand.
It's kind of true. So we will talk about that later. We will do a little bit of a recap of the latest Euro 2020 qualifiers. There was some craziness that happened in those. We'll be giving a quick preview of the Premier League weekend that's back now that the international break is done. We'll also hit the news and notes, even though it's just one little news story this week, or two news stories this week. But one about one of our favorite people in the world. So that'll always be fun. And of course, the Watch For and So Raw. As always, the podcast is presented by NGSC Sports at ngscsports.com. We never stop. As well as Alicia's Pills and Things. Hey, literally, as you're listening to this podcast, now that it's out, you might be watching opening day for Major League Baseball. Not counting the opening day that took place in Japan last week. No, the actual opening day for Major League Baseball is coming up here, and be sure to check out Alicia's Pillows and Things for your latest MLB themed pillows, body pillows, ottomans, other stuff. It's why it's Pillows and Things, people. So go check it out.
And in breaking news,
yes,
folks, it's now time to get your Anaheim, Los Angeles Angels of Orange County, Anaheim, Sedona Valley.
Damn it. I thought I was going to get to be the one to bring this story up. I didn't think you'd seen it yet. Damn.
Oh, sir, it's already been posted.
Damn it.
We'll wait on
sure.
it. I mean, it's a huge story on it for all our listeners. But, time to get your Los Angeles Angels pillow from Alicia.
Oh, and you thought
might be dropping my order tonight.
You thought Mike Trout was the best outfielder in Los Angeles? Oh no, my friends. Oh no. Oh
wait,
no.
Just a quick teaser. The Twin Counties. Well, let's just say the entire 252.
Mm-hmm.
Just taking over Los Angeles one person at a time.
That's true. Oh God, I forgot. Yeah. It kind of.
You look at the basketball, the football, and now the baseball.
Wait, which is the basketball part?
Oh, God, we got two. Montrezl Harrell and Reggie Bullock.
Montrezl Harrell is playing for
The Clippers.
I didn't know that, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
And Brandon Ingram plays for the Lakers. And Reggie Bullock plays for the Clippers.
Oh, shit.
So basically, Nash, Edgecombe, and Kinston
Damn.
just rule Los Angeles at this point. So.
Damn.
Yeah.
So when is it our turn?
It's our turn right now.
That's true. It is our turn as we start off the podcast. So let's hit right into gear here and start off with the Euro 2020 qualifiers that took place this past week and change. And just as I was looking at the standings here for each of the groups, I got very confused because this was literally the first two, for some teams, one match they've played in qualification. And I was looking at Group A, and I noticed that through two matches, England has already qualified for at least playoffs to get to the... I was like, what? How? How is that? And I was like, oh, because of the Nations League and all that fun stuff. I was like, I was struggling to remember, and then I figured it out. But Wes, let's start there. Let's start right in Group A because it is alphabetical. But it also is the home of England. And as I texted you, after these two matches, Euro 2020 is now England's to lose. After the impressive performance they put on in their first two qualifying matches. First, dominating the Czech Republic 5-0. It's Raheem the Dream's team now as he gets the Hattie. Harry Kane also hitting one from the spot there. And then following it up just a few days later with a road win at Montenegro, where England gets a 5-1 win. They went down early, but everybody didn't panic, and they came right back against Montenegro.
Who is this England not panicking?
I know, crazy, right? What does Gareth Southgate know? England, in all honesty, obviously, the Czech Republic, probably in their group. That also includes Bulgaria and Kosovo, as well as Montenegro that we mentioned. Czech Republic, I would guess, is probably their stiffest competition. In what is not a very tough group, I think, for England to get out of. But this is an England team that isn't just winning matches, Wes. And I feel like we've said this before, but they are dominating. And not only are they just dominating by putting in goals against mediocre competition, they look really good doing it. And I think, we're starting to see a little bit, maybe... I don't want to get too hyped yet. Not yet. We're still so far off. But it feels like this England team has just kept on growing from World Cup 2018.
What do you mean you don't want to get hyped yet? That's what it's all about, is getting hyped.
Oh, I forgot. That's right. Wes has already talked himself into this England team. I forgot.
I mean, Raheem Sterling has basically become international Messi.
Yeah.
I mean, well, let's put it this way. He's what Messi wishes he was as an international player.
That's shockingly true.
Roy made him Raheem the Dream. Just think about this, too. England, yes, they've given up one goal. But think about it. They're not playing without, and I do not believe this is hyperbole at this point, because we saw what he was capable of earlier this year before the injury. Mm-hmm. England are playing without Joe Gomez, who may seriously be their best central defensive player. Mm-hmm. So they should only get better at the back. I think a Gomez-John Stones back line, man, that's pretty damn sexy if you ask me when it comes to English center backs. And then you've got Harry Maguire, slabhead himself, back there as well, who can go. England are blessed with a plethora of attacking players. It might not be crazy to say and call it that Harry Kane's probably the best number 9 in the world.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, that's considering, Messi isn't a true number 9.
Right.
Like I said, that's as a number 9. That's as a center forward striker.
Sure.
I mean, Harry Kane's the best one in the world.
Yeah.
You've got a guy like Dele Alli in midfield. You've got Jesse Lingard in midfield. You've got Raheem Sterling, who suddenly, after going forever without being able to score for England, is now just scoring, PlayStation level goals for England. They're my favorite thing to do, Ed. They're blooding in the youth.
I've heard this Callum Hudson-Odoi guy's pretty good.
Yeah, apparently we're going to see him in Germany one day. But Hudson-Odoi, Sancho, the young guys are coming through and they're showing a lot of promise. Yes, you don't want to get totally ahead of yourself at this point, but this is a very exciting time. It's turning into a really exciting time to be an England fan.
I agree.
Just because of the group that's coming up. Then you look even below. You've got a pair of World Cup winning age groups, that are coming on. And of course, that's where the Sanchos, the Phil Fodens of the world, those guys are starting to come through from those teams. And there's still a lot more talent coming up for England that you're going to continue to see. Gareth Southgate, I don't think much of him as a club manager, but you know what? Some guys just have that it factor being a national team manager.
Sure.
And he seems to have it. And this is exciting a time for England, I think, as has been since the golden generation started coming through. But where you have optimism with this group, now it's guarded optimism,
sure,
but still optimism, is these guys, they got the chance. They came up during the, can we play Gerrard and Lampard together?
Yeah.
Whose team is this? Is this Rio's team? Is it John Terry's team? Who's the big dog here? They came up through this time where it was a supremely talented English team that was overhyped and horribly underachieved. And hopefully this group learned from the mistakes and the missteps of that group. And, it's exciting right now. And this is a squad that, as they continue to mature, if they're playing like this, they're going to be a force at the Euros. And maybe 2020, I've always jokingly said, wait till 4 years from now. Man, that might turn out to be true in 2022. Yeah. Who knows, man? Semifinals this year, and they're only getting better. So, give it up for England right now. They're doing exactly what they're supposed to do in this group. And, what else can you ask from them?
No, absolutely. And again, I think it's not just that they are pounding the teams that they're supposed to be beating, especially a team like Montenegro, who is not going to, or who should not challenge England, but they're doing it in style. They're doing it with this very attractive brand of football. And it's not just one guy doing it. Like towards the end of that golden generation, it's not just Rooney who's having to do everything. Right. It's a plethora of guys. It's Kane, it's Sterling, it's Ali, it's maybe Jadon Sancho, it's Jesse Lingard. It's these guys coming forward. And I think even, as long as you can sort of put your club maybe allegiances aside, something you were kind of mentioning, with the whole, do we play Frank Lampard? Do we play John Terry? Do we play them together? I think this is a team that feels like they like each other and feels so far like a likable group of guys. Like, I know sometimes Delhi can kind of be a pissant, like in club play. And I get that. I don't not understand that. But this seems like overall a likable group of guys. And
something else you can point at toward that. Excuse me, interrupt you.
Go ahead, no, please.
But you totally made me think of something. One thing about that golden generation team, they will tell you now, the United guys sat with the United guys. Mm-hmm. The Liverpool guys sat with the Liverpool guys. The Chelsea guys sat with the Chelsea guys, and they didn't coexist and intermingle because it was almost like at that time the club rivalries were so intense. Where, of course, they're still intense on fan base now. But you think, you know, the millennials get a lot of grief. This generation come through now, they get a lot of grief about social media and things like that. But you think about it, these guys have now come up. I mean, they've played together, you know, on the junior national teams since they were, say, 15, 16. They've been friends. They're connected on, you know, on Twitter, and they're connected on Snapchat and Facebook and all these things. I mean, you know who two of the best friends on this team are?
Who's that?
Is Jesse Lingard and Joe Gomez. A Liverpool and a United player are like inseparable best buddies when they go on England duty together. These are things that, you know, as you said, bring about that team cohesion, bring about that they have a real camaraderie where, you know, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, as we said, the Arsenal guys didn't want to, you know, the Arsenal guys couldn't stand the United guys, who couldn't stand the Chelsea guys, who couldn't stand the Liverpool guys, who couldn't stand the Newcastle guys, couldn't stand the Everton guys. You know, nowadays, I mean, you've got these guys, they're buddies. It's almost like we see in American pro sports, you know, where the NBA, you know, when Michael Jordan was coming up, it was Jordan versus the world. You know, I hate everybody. I'm going to murder everybody, basically. Where now everyone wants to form the super teams and be best friends. And
well, I also think, you know
that's just something that's much more acceptable, maybe in just masculine society these days.
Sure. I mean, even like, we're both Boston Red Sox fans. And you know, that it was still, you know, at times a very heated rivalry, even in the mid 2000s. I mean, God, I still remember Pedro throwing Don Zimmer to the ground as
it was glorious.
For some reason he decided to charge him. But, and you know, still Jason Varitek punching A-Rod in the face never gets old. But you also, I remember a lot of times pre-games, maybe not during the postseason, but, you know, during regular season games, David Ortiz just chilling outside the batting cage with Yankees players, just hanging out, talking, chatting, and just coming in. This is supposed to be one of the biggest rivalries in all of sports. And
it is.
And it still is. But that doesn't mean that the people off the field can't be friends. Like, I still want to crush you on the field, but if it's not within those 9 innings, you're fine. Like, I can be friends with you. And it's weird because from a fan, you're like, no, you have to hate them. And But from like just a societal perspective, it's like, oh, no, that's good. That's healthy, probably. So I think it's a good move. And I'm glad to see that these England players are really getting along. And again, as long as they're going to go after each other at a club level, when it is Liverpool United.
Oh, yeah, and they will.
Absolutely.
I mean, they'll go even harder, extra hard, because you're playing against your buddy, you know, but.
Absolutely.
You know,
like you want bragging rights.
Oh God, yeah. And you know, I mean, it's like, I mean, where else do you get bragging rights? You get bragging rights playing Xbox against each other when you're 50 miles away. Like, you know, maybe Liverpool and you know, Lingard and Joe Gomez, you know, they're going at it on Xbox Live or, you know, something like that.
Bill Gates, if you would like to sponsor this podcast, we will mention Xbox Live literally all the time.
Absolutely. And I take it back, actually, not Joe Gomez, but it's actually Jesse Lingard and Trent Alexander-Arnold, who are really, really, really tight. But, you know, that's something where, you know, once again, back in the older days, it was, you know, these guys, it was so, I think I'm using the right word, sectarian,
I think.
Sectarian? Yeah, where, you know, it was Liverpool versus the world. It was, you know, West London, North London versus the world, you know, and now, you know, the barriers of, you know, people meeting and talking and communicating have come down. And, you know, if that's what's, hey, if Xbox binges are what are going to bring, you know, England, maybe potentially World Cup glory, we'll get behind it, man.
Hey, where are we dropping, boys? Where are we dropping? That's what I picked up from hearing the kids talk about Fortnite. So anyway, that is really good to see though, and we'll see if England can keep it up. One thing, selfishly talking about club level, and I think is great for anybody who cheers for a Premier League team. So because England is in a group of 5, half of the groups have 5, half the groups have 6 because of the weird number of UEFA teams. Obviously, in a group of 5. Every international break, one team is going to be kind of off. Like, they just won't get to play any matches because of the way it's ordered. Well, guess when England's turn to not get to play is? The June international break. So that means, for the first time in, like, ages, English players don't have anything to do this summer until the stupid fucking International Champions Cup. But they don't have Euros, they don't have World Cup, they don't have any of that. They don't have an international match. Maybe there's friendlies, but there won't be Euro qualifying matches.
Get healthy, boys. Get healthy.
Yes, they need it.
Especially with what the Premier League's turned into. My God, a summer of rest. That could be the difference for somebody in the Premier League.
Absolutely. So next time England will be an official competition will be the 7th and 10th of September when they play a pair of home matches at Wembley against Bulgaria and Kosovo. So again, England right now is first, Bulgaria's in second, and it's not even close. So as we take a look at some of the other groups, Group B, Ukraine is out in front with 4 points. Portugal right now at just 2 after they had a pair of draws against Serbia and Ukraine.
And obviously the massive news out of Portugal. Out of their international camp, the injury to Cristiano Ronaldo, which looks like it. Ronaldo's saying he's going to be back for the first Champions League match. Pretty much every pundit and expert out there saying, "What the hell does he think? How the hell does he think he's going to be back? Not a chance." So, the international injury bug hits Portugal, and maybe even harder may have hit Juventus.
Yeah, that's going to be really rough for them. Ronaldo suffering that injury against Serbia in their match, their 1-1 draw with them. Just really unfortunate timing for Juventus, obviously.
Yeah.
So tough break for them, and as they are now also in 3rd place. Obviously, Portugal does want to qualify as defending Euro champion.
Yes, that's correct.
Yes, it is. I was like, it's been so long. I thought I had dreamt it. So they're currently sitting in 3rd place, but again, still a ton of time to make up. Group C, Northern Ireland currently leads after being able to take advantage of Estonia and Belarus, getting 6 points there. Germany and the Netherlands, though, both at 3 points. And they played a very, very entertaining match. 3-2. Germany gets the win thanks to a late 90-minute goal from Nico Schultz. Great game there as Germany got out to an early 2-0 lead. Netherlands struck back with 2 goals from Sebastian De Ligt as well as Memphis Depay. I'm sorry, that's Matthias De Ligt. I always get the two of them confused. But again, Germany with the late winner there. And I thought this was an interesting match, Wes, because obviously Netherlands missed World Cup 2018. Germany unceremoniously bounced in the group stage of 2018 when that whole inquisition happened afterwards. So they're both off to 3 points. And these are two teams that, obviously Northern Ireland out in front right now. Not totally expecting them to stay out in front, but when only 2 teams qualify, you do have to make sure you can get all of the points you can get. And especially for Germany and the Netherlands, they're both looking to make a statement on the international level.
And of course, for the Netherlands, they're kind of in the same position England are in. They're in the finals. They're in that final 4 of the Nations League. Yeah, Nations League.
Yeah.
So, they're actually going to have 2 chances to auto-qualify. So something to keep an eye on. And the Netherlands, Germany was in the group with the Netherlands in the Nations League. And the Netherlands went and won that group. It was a great, great matchup between Germany and the Netherlands. The Germans getting that late winner. But I think that we've seen enough from the Dutch to feel like, they're getting back where they belong among the elites of the world. And they're doing it. They're doing on the back of a dynamic duo in the center defensive partnership of Virgil van Dijk and Matthijs de Ligt. And a little surprising, some of the other names, but Genie Wijnaldum is a freaking goal machine for the Dutch.
Yeah.
And then Memphis Depay is suddenly the dude that we thought he was going to be 3 or 4 years ago when he went to Manchester United. He's just been magnificent playing for him. And then of all things, they've resurrected the career of Ryan Babel.
Yeah.
So it's a really interesting look for the Dutch. And of course, Frankie de Jong, who's heading to Barcelona, is the midfield maestro of this team. It is the new generation of Dutch football. Gone are the Robin van Persies, the Wesley Schneiders, the Ian Robins, the Klaas-Jan Huntelaars. God, I love saying Dutch names more than anything.
It's very fun.
God's green earth, I love saying them. So that generation, which was a really, really good generation for the Dutch, they have moved on. This is this new generation coming through. And they needed a little time, but they are looking really, really solid.
Absolutely. And Germany also trying to blood in, not necessarily new names, but it is starting to become a little bit of a new generation. Serge Gnabry coming on. He had one of the goals in the match against the Dutch. Obviously, Leroy Sané and Marco Reus trying to become those kind of new next generation players that can kind of take over for some of the old guard that had to step down after the last World Cup.
Yeah, and of course that old guard we're talking about, some were unceremoniously retired by the manager. Who, you look at Jurgen Low and a guy with his resume, you want to talk about somebody who's under some pressure right now. Mm-hmm. And like we said, he's got the Dutch nipping at his heels here. Jurgen Low is under pressure to, A, win this group, and then B, go win the Euros.
Yeah.
It's not good enough for the Germans just to get there. Obviously, they need to go and try to win this thing, or this could legitimately, even if they do go win, this could legitimately kind of be the last ride for Jurgen Low.
It could be. He's been there quite a while now, and it might be time for a new voice in Germany, a new, loud, angry voice. Group D. I'm sorry, your language is very beautiful, Germans. Over in Group D, talking about teams that would just be happy to kind of make the Euros. That's kind of what this group is about. Ireland currently lead with a 6-point jump that they have after beating Georgia 1-0, those stalwarts in football, and then also beating the mighty Jib 1-0. So two of maybe the worst teams in international football and at least in European football.
I'll tell you, it's crazy how you got Georgia being one of the worst teams in European football, and then American football, they're a powerhouse.
It's weird. It's so weird. Maybe they should.
That campus is just so split, man.
Yeah, they really should work on unifying those two together. Switzerland is also in the group. They had 1 win and 1 draw. They drew Denmark in a crazy 3-3 shootout. This was 3-0 for the longest time for Switzerland, and then in the final 9 minutes of the match, Denmark came out firing, scored 3 in the final 9, and just completely upended Switzerland. In a match that they were absolutely dominating. So that is a point. That's 2 points now that Switzerland basically drops from being up in that 3-0 position and gets Denmark a point. And Denmark is currently in third place with just the 1 point, but they do have, hey, we're already saying it, match in hand against Ireland and Switzerland. So that's very big for them. A team. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, Switzerland are the obvious favorites out of this group. Mm-hmm. And I think Switzerland 1, Denmark 2 are your favorites. The Irish right there at 3. But, Denmark do have, I'd say, the best player in this group in Christian Eriksen.
Sure.
So, they're dangerous. It's not a cut and dry group like you were saying.
Of course not. And Denmark who went to the knockout stage of the World Cup back in 2018, into penalties, I think against Russia, if I'm not mistaken.
I can't remember.
But they definitely did make it there. and very, very tough loss for them. But this could be a Denmark team that in this group could at least make some noise and try to go qualify for Euro 2020. Over in Group E, it's, hey, the Europeans, they love their ties. And it's a 4-way tie for first. All teams at 3 points except for the mighty Azerbaijanians. Wales gets a nice 3-0 win, or 1-0 win, over Slovakia. Slovakia, in turn, beat Hungary 2-0. And Croatia got a 2-1 win over Azerbaijan. So, I don't know, Wes. I mean, is Wales the favorite in this group? I mean, Croatia obviously being World Cup finalists, but we also talked a lot about them kind of being sort of on their last legs for a lot of their players at that tournament.
Well, I mean, when you still look at it on paper, they're the favorites. The only issue with the Welsh is just the fact that the Welsh shit the bed kind of recently.
That's true.
I mean, this should be a good Welsh group coming through, though. But they've got to get back on the field and prove it. Croatia should still be your favorite. I mean, Croatia are just God, they've got good players.
Yes, they do.
I mean, and they still have the best defensive player in the world who returned Deschamps.
Oh, of course. How could I forget?
Obviously, Ed. I mean, come on, get with the program, friend.
My bad. I should have known that. Come on. That's my fault. You know, after you give up 2 goals.
It's okay.
Yeah. We move on to Group F, which is a little interesting. Spain right now tops this group with 6 points. They're 2-0. Sweden, they're at 4 points in second place. Of course, Sweden made a little bit of noise back World Cup 2018 as well. They had a 2-1 win over Romania and then played a 3-3 draw, another crazy 3-3 draw with Norway, which was taking place at almost the same time as the Denmark-Switzerland match. So it was really crazy. Sweden came back from a similar deficit, down 2-0, comes back in the final 20 minutes, scores 3 goals, including a 91st minute goal from Wabben Quaison, and then just 6 minutes later, Norway gets a 97th minute goal from Ola Kamara to secure a 3-3 draw. So craziness going on in Oslo. It must be that whole Nordic territory thing going on there. Big rivalries. But Sweden does pick up the draw there. But obviously, saying Croatia was the favorite in last group, Spain should definitely be the favorite in this one, obviously.
Absolutely, even though they do have Alvaro Morata, who is just shit.
Well,
but, we can't all be perfect.
That's true. But
Spain definitely your favorites.
Yep, and then in Group G, Poland's gotten off to a nice start thanks to the mighty Latvians capitulating a 2-0 lead there. That's a joke for no one. And then also beating Austria 1-0. Israel and Macedonia also tied for second in that group with 4 points.
Holy Land!
There you go. And then Slovenia has 2. Over in Group H, France and Turkey both sit on 6 points. France, of course, that's not surprising at all. Turkey, maybe a little bit surprising. Also in the group, though, is Iceland, who, of course, became big famous at the last European Championship when they knocked out England, of course, in the knockout stage, and just everybody started doing the big claps for Iceland. But West France already starting to look strong after a 4-0 drubbing of that Iceland team.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, France are the favorites against pretty much anybody in the world right now. They are the defending world champions. They've got talent coming out the ass. It is, we jokingly said about England earlier, it is their turn. It's going to be France's tournament to lose.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, that's just no doubt about it. And that's a tough group. Turkey's always a tough out. Albania can shock anybody, and Iceland have put themselves into the conversation. But that said, they're all playing for second with France.
Absolutely. Over in Group I, Belgium right now, the clear favorites. Right now they're on 6 points after beating Russia as well as Cyprus. But Wes, the one we have to talk about now, I think one of the first matches of European qualification was the shock heard round the world, maybe to some people, especially if you live in Scotland. It was glorious Kazakhstan 3, Scotland 0. And, like, I get it. Like, it was a road match, okay. Like, and I know Scotland's not the greatest team in the world, but 3-0 to Kazakhstan? What the fuck?
There's no excuse for it. I mean, the easy answer is that Scotland are dreadful.
Yeah.
I mean,
look at you, Graham Shinnie.
Yeah, I mean, they just suck. I mean, Andy Robertson is kind of the outlier on this team.
Yeah.
And I don't say that because he's a Liverpool guy, but I mean, Andy Robertson is an elite level player, and Scotland just don't have anyone else of his ilk.
Mm-hmm.
Scotland has some good, promising young players, but part of this is also an indictment on the Scottish Premier League.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, don't get us wrong. I mean, we enjoy Celtic and Rangers.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Rangers have been a great story for Liverpool fans this year with Steven Gerrard there, and Celtic are Celtic. But I mean, it kind of shows that league, which is populated by a lot of Scottish players, nearly everyone on the Scottish national team plays in Scotland. It just shows that league it's not a very good league, and they're not a very good team. And Robbo did actually miss that Kazakhstan game, I believe. Didn't play in it. But that's not an excuse.
Not at all. That was a very poor performance. Kazakhstan does pick up the 3 points, which gets them in, I guess, a good position in the group. We'll see if Scotland can bounce back, though. They did get a victory before they left, beating the mighty San Marino 2-0. So, hey, they got that going for them. Finally, in Group J, Italy right now are on 6 points after whooping Liechtenstein 6-0, as well as getting a 2-0 victory over Finland. Also in the group are Greece and Bosnia and Herzegovina, and besides Italy kind of trying to return to form a little bit here, talked a little bit about how the Dutch are trying to do it, Italy's trying to do it as well. Greece and Bosnia and Herzegovina are two of those teams that kind of always remained on the periphery, and both now have a chance to get out of this group as the second team and maybe do something once we hit Euros. Obviously, Bosnia and Herzegovina, that the debutantes back in the 2014 World Cup, and we thought maybe this is kind of a rise for them, and then they just haven't really done much since then. So it would be good to see them kind of jump back up into the conversation a little bit.
Yeah, especially since we're huge in Bosnia.
We are.
We definitely need to come up. Italy. Here's one thing with Italy, man. With this group, I don't know how good Italy are. I mean, yeah, they look good right now. I don't rate Italy when it comes to let's put them against France, let's put them against Spain, let's put them against England. I think right now Italy have a lot to prove, but this is a good start off for them, and this is a jumping off point. They need to go ahead. They need to dominate this group and get some confidence moving forward into this tournament.
Yeah, not in exactly the same place as England, but a similar performance as England is showing would be good for them. And right now, through 2 wins, they have scored 8 goals and given up none. So that's a good start for them. Right. So that is your Euro 2020 qualifying report. Again, they'll start back in June. So that'll be some more matches taking place there in that international window. So let's talk real quick about the Premier League schedule for this weekend, because Premier League is back, baby. At 8:30 on Saturday, the title holders are back in action as they head to Craven Cottage as Man City takes on Fulham. Then at 11 a.m., you get the choice of Leicester versus Bournemouth, Man United versus Watford, as United look to kind of erase that skid they had been on right before we went to international break. Palace plays Huddersfield. Burnley gets Wolves. Brighton and Hove take on Southampton. And then at 1:30, you get West Ham versus Everton. And then on Sunday, you get 9 o'clock. You get Cardiff versus Chelsea, and 11:30 a.m. the Foreign Affair podcast derby. It's Liverpool versus Tottenham. Big match there.
Ed, I ask you, are we on for a derby viewing party?
I think we could be. I think we very well could be, my friend.
I'm making my plans to be in Raleigh, North Carolina on Sunday morning at the London Bridge Pub, ready for a hearty English breakfast.
Delicious.
I'm gonna be ready for the derby, and I'm hoping I will be saving you a seat, my friend.
Excellent. I would love to be there. I think we're gonna be able to work that one out. And then on Monday at 3 o'clock in Monday Night Football on NBC Sports, 3 p.m. It's Arsenal versus Newcastle. So a pretty important match there. Let's see if Rafa can do one for the boys. As we look at the good to hear. As we look at the table here, Liverpool with that 2-point lead over City, but City do have match in hand, and so since they'll be right out of the gate, they have the chance to retake their lead on the Premier League, even if it is just for a day potentially. Tottenham, Arsenal, United, Chelsea all battling for those 2 other Champions League spots, and Cardiff is trying desperately to get out of relegation. Hey, win over Chelsea would do that for you, boys. You can do it. I believe in you.
And you know, like you said, Ed, no more international break. That was it. It is the run-in now. This is it. I mean, we go till May the 12th in the Premier League, and then, you know, Lord willing, fingers crossed, we'll have an English team or two also moving on in the Champions League.
Absolutely. And I actually forgot to mention, that next week is also a makeup week sort of thing. And it's very important. I'm glad I remembered this. On Tuesday, so at 2:45 on Tuesday, you also get more matches. You get Watford versus Fulham. You also get Wolves versus Manchester United at the Molineux. That Wolves United match is actually huge. Wolves have a very good chance of winning that one. And then on Wednesday, 2:45, you get Brighton and Hove heading to Chelsea. You get Cardiff heading to Man City. And then you get Crystal Palace heading into Tottenham Hotspur Stadium to take on Spurs. It's happening. Football's coming home, Wes. It's coming home.
Football's coming home. It's coming home. Finally, 4 months later.
Oh, man.
Hey, you remember how Liverpool and Spurs were going to open the new stadium, and now instead they will have already played the return leg before the stadium?
Yes, I do. Oh, what could have been?
We love English construction crews.
We do. But I will say, and I think there's another test match this weekend. They did play the first test match this past weekend with the under-18s. It was great. That stadium is amazing. I
believe it is now the second largest club team stadium in the country. I think just behind Old Trafford.
I think so. I can look that up.
I believe were they on about 66,000, 66,000?
Yeah.
So now, of course, Wembley holds more, but you know, Wembley not typically a club stadium.
Not anymore, baby.
Not anymore. So you know, Tottenham are kind of throwing their marker down. You know, this is kind of Tottenham saying, you know what, we want to be in the big time, and this is our marker to do it. So.
Yep, Man United is number 1. It's almost 75,000.
Right.
Spurs is a little over 62,000, just ahead of Arsenal and technically West Ham right now, because they play at the London Stadium, but that doesn't really count.
Right.
And then City's at 55,000, and Anfield is at 54.
And there is talks about the future Anfield expansion. So you know, the arms race. The arms race isn't just, you know, it's not just getting the players. You know, it's putting out the facilities. It's something. It is absolutely something, man. And you know, everybody's got to keep up. We're seeing this year in particular, we're seeing just how competitive it is at the top of that Premier League.
Yeah.
Where right now, really 3 through 6 is still up for grabs.
Absolutely. I mean, when you're recruiting these players, you really have to sell them. I think some people might call it a big ass deal you have to give them. Yeah. You know, not that would ever happen in America. Something like that. We don't recruit athletes in college with money. Never. Right. We'll wait. So that's
as they say in college. It just means more down here.
That's true. Yeah. There's never enough money. But yeah, you're right. The absolute arms race that is going on with so much expansion happening at these stadiums, and I can't wait to see what keeps happening. It looks great.
And you got to look at, new, bigger stadiums, that's more revenue coming in. Mm-hmm. And this day and age with the skyrocketing prices of players, every pound you can get in revenue at this point is maximized. So, that's the thing. Spurs have this big brand new stadium. Well, that means everyone else can't stand pat.
Yeah, it was absolutely.
Let me say, if it's going to be a new, if it's going to be a COP expansion or a main, not the main stand, the other end stand at Liverpool that they're talking about doing an expansion on the next few years. Everybody's looking to get more people into these matches now. And Spurs, like you said, Spurs have an absolute gem on their hands. It's a gorgeous new stadium. Just a gorgeous new stadium.
It really is. So let's hope that they can fill it with some gorgeous players in the near future here. So and maybe some gorgeous trophies. Maybe. We'll see.
If they look like Lamella and play like Kane, oh my goodness.
It's so... I think you're describing a young Maurizio Pochettino. I love you, boss. All right, our final match talk of the week. The International Champions Cup schedule got released to everybody. Quick note to whoever's running the International Champions Cup website.
Charlie Stilitano?
Probably.
Oh, yeah, he don't run the website, I guess. It's probably his brother Brian.
So they had an article where it's like 2019 International Champions Cup schedule released, and they have this big picture that starts, the season starts here, view schedule, and it's like I'm like trying to click on it, and it's just like it's not even really a picture, like it's not a JPEG, it's just a thing there that you can't actually click on, and it was very awkward, and I hated it, and the text looks stupid, and I hate the font, and I hate your website, and that's all there is to it. Anyway, let's talk about the actual matches. So for the first time in a while, the number of teams actually goes down by a significant amount. We are down to 12. We had been hovering around 15, 16, 17 last year. We are at 18 teams that took part in this. Now we are down to 12, one of which is actually coming from Mexico, Chivas USA. I believe that's their surname is USA. Yeah. Or no, it's not, because it's Mexico. Chivas. We just call them Chivas. Will be also participating in the competition. Also, I believe, if I counted right, I think it's only 11 actual matches will be taking place in the United States, which is also down from previous years. So that's sort of interesting. But anyway, Roma, as mentioned, Chivas, Arsenal, Bayern Munich, Manchester United, Inter, Real Madrid, Benfica, Juventus, Tottenham, Atletico Madrid, and I think that's the entire list, and AC Milan. Those teams will all be competing in the competition, if you want to call it a competition. There will be a Madrid derby that'll take place, although I don't believe that actually takes place. No, it will take place in the States. Of note, Arsenal is the only team from the Premier League that will actually be playing matches in the United States. Both Tottenham and Manchester United will be playing overseas. Tottenham actually is quite fortunate. They're going to play their last match at the new stadium, so that's pretty cool. But Tottenham and United will not be playing any matches in the United States this year, which means if you want to see a Premier League team in the U.S., you get Arsenal. Now, one thing I did notice, we've been bantering about this back and forth when you had great lines like the iconic Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, North Carolina. It's so iconic. Or talking about how in the Arsenal versus Bayern match, which will happen. The North Thunders were able to exact revenge during the 2017 International Champions Cup for their Champions League defeats in 2013, 2014, and 2017. So I'm sure that's what they had on their mind when they met. It's like, oh, you knocked us out of the Champions League in sometimes humiliating fashion, but ooh, we're gonna get you in the International Champions Cup. Damn straight.
When 4 of our regular starters were playing.
Yeah. There was another one that kind of did that too. I think it was another one with Arsenal, where they hadn't met in like 10 years or something. Anyway, now Wes, you did mention something in between our jokes that was kind of interesting. You mentioned that you'd heard that Liverpool was potentially coming over to the States as well, but on sort of their own kind of thing. And now when you speculate of if they are going to do that, the teams that could be, if they're not involved in the International Champions Cup, well, Barcelona, they're conspicuously missing from this list of teams involved. Borussia Dortmund, also missing from the list of teams involved. Anyone from France, also missing. So plenty of opportunities. But I think that's a very interesting prospect for teams to do if you have any more thoughts on that.
Well, and I've heard some different things, and it hasn't totally been confirmed what Liverpool are going to do. But what has been confirmed is they will be coming to the United States. Okay. Liverpool were originally scheduled to do a tour of Asia. Oh. And Jurgen Klopp, while certainly not wanting to neglect the Asian market, which is a huge market for Liverpool, but Jurgen Klopp is a big fan of being able to have one base camp in one place for about 10 days. And with the facilities, the travel that's available, just everything that's available in the United States, it's much easier for them to come to America and base in one place. Like if they just stay on the East Coast, they could base in Boston, or they could base in New York or DC or Chicago, wherever they wanted to. I mean, because you can fly out of Chicago and be anywhere on the East Coast in 3 or 4 hours and then back. So it's not the travel's a lot easier. There wouldn't be as much hustle and bustle in the U.S. as there would in an Asian tour. I have read that they have confirmed they will be playing a match at Fenway.
Oh, that's cool.
Which they've done before. They did that with Roma a few years ago. So, they may just base themselves out of Boston, with, of course, owned by Fenway Sports Group. So, but, could that be something where, not only, basically they make their own schedule. Yeah. They're not tied to, you have to be in Ann Arbor to play this match, and then you have to be in Charlotte. Oh, and then we want you to play in the Rose Bowl. It's about some jet lag or something. But Liverpool wanted to kind of control it. Klopp wanted to come to America. I'm of course very pleased with this. Shocking. And I mean, who knows? Hey, if they end up at RFK or wherever they play in DC nowadays, West might have to hit the car and go make a trip for that. So, or maybe they play in Baltimore or something at M&T Stadium. So, something like that. It could be a doable trip for our group. Now we did discuss putting in credential requests for Charlotte this year. Sure. I believe you said it's going to be Roma and Arsenal. Yeah. Well, they shouldn't be playing in Europa yet at that point, so that should be good for both of those squads. Oh, man. Jesus. We've gone from seeing we've seen some really good teams, man. We've seen Liverpool, we've seen AC Milan, we've seen Chelsea, we've seen PSG.
Saw Bayern Munich.
We saw Bayern Munich. Did we see Dortmund? No, we didn't see Dortmund. No. Last year in Charlotte was Dortmund and Liverpool. Yeah, that was it. And unfortunately, we had our issues last year. Yeah. Couldn't make it. But we've seen all these great teams, and Arsenal and Roma. Yeah. Let's see the historic Bank of America Stadium. Really just get down for Arsenal and Roma.
Was Roma that's who we saw play Liverpool the first time we went, right?
No. We saw AC Milan play Liverpool.
You're right. You're exactly right.
With the wonderful smelling Pippo Inzaghi.
Yes. Yeah.
And we saw Balotelli a week before he became a Liverpool player.
That's right. And he was so excited.
I was excited. I was excited for the potential.
I don't blame you.
What it could have been.
Yeah.
So talented.
I do want to ask you something that I kind of started mulling in my head, because we did start mentioning once we talked about Liverpool sort of making their own schedule potentially and doing this, how good it might be for teams that have already grown a fan base in the United States, like a Man United, like a City, like even maybe a Tottenham, to not have to rely on the International Champions Cup. And I jokingly said, coming to Charlotte in 2020. Burnley versus Schalke 04. Yeah. And I'm curious if teams do start going that way towards doing their own sort of series, does the International Champions Cup still have a place? Because, one thing we've lamented, with the compacting of the schedule is that, teams are kind of bound by this. And, it's you finish in late May and you're right back on the field in early to mid-July. Yeah. And, if you can control that, or maybe instead of playing 3 matches, you play maybe 1 match in the States, and then you play 1 match. You maybe you do something like you play 1 match on the West Coast, 1 match on the East Coast, and then you hit home. You hit both coasts that way and kind of make a big circle from England, or a parabola, I guess it was. I mean, could we see more teams doing that? And then again, I guess the bigger question is, does something like the International Champions Cup need to exist? Because there's no, let's be real here. Tottenham won the International Champions Cup last year. No one cares. Like, it doesn't really matter. And I get that it's not for that. I get that it's for money. I fully understand that. But if clubs can do it and are savvy enough to do it on their own, does the International Champions Cup just kind of go away?
And that's the thing, because what big about the International Champions Cup was it was bringing these teams to America and giving them the exposure of playing in these big stadiums, in these big cities. And like you said, the thing is, with the TV deal in this country, things have just gotten so much bigger than they were 5 or 6 years ago. And at that point, it was great because you got all these teams together and they could do everything, and it exposed them to these regions and these places that, hey, man, I get the chance to see Manchester United, and I'll be a Manchester United fan. Well, now people have seen them. But, looking from a team like Liverpool, Liverpool have this major foothold in the United States. I really think, Liverpool, Manchester United, Chelsea, Arsenal, Tottenham City. Those are 6 huge teams here in the United States. For Liverpool, they no longer so much need the exposure in the United States because they have it. For them, it's more important, hey, let's come to the United States because, like we said earlier, we know we've got the facilities. We know, we can control the travel. You don't have to tell me to be in Miami and be in New York and then here and there. They can come make their own schedule, and it's not like it's going to be hard to find matches to play. Yeah. So it's kind of like cutting out the middleman.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also wonder a little bit, as they do that, you also don't maybe necessarily have to play, in the Rose Bowl or in Ann Arbor. You don't have to play 90,000 seat stadiums to generate revenue, because that's not really the entire point. Yeah, you want to make still a little bit of money while you're over here, but because you're not also probably splitting revenue with the middleman, you can kind of just keep most of the gate fees.
Right. And now I think more the International Champions League, I think that could still be a really good avenue for more non-English teams, because that does still give them the exposure. Obviously we know Barca, we know Real Madrid, but someone like a Roma, like one of the Milan sides, like the German teams, that is continued exposure for those guys, where obviously they don't have the massive TV deals that the Premier League sides. So I do think it could. I think it has a place. It just might not be with the big English teams going forward. It may be even with someone like, say, a Wolves or Everton or Leicester or Crystal Palace, maybe going forward in a few years.
Well, and my only other question, and this might have to be a topic for a different day because it is kind of a big deal, and it might be just like a huge thing. But I do wonder if we're sort of hitting peak saturation with soccer in the United States. Like something you mentioned a little bit ago, talking about Manchester United. 4 or 5 years ago, person can go in California is like, oh yeah, United's coming here to the Rose Bowl. I can go see United. And now I've done it, and it's like, okay, so now with what NBC Sports has done, with what Fox somewhat did with the Champions League, I think they reached a lot of people, and a lot of people got converted. But I don't know how many more people are left to convert. Like, I don't know how much more. I mean, and it's not that the game's going to all of a sudden die or that there's no growth left, but I don't think we're going to see massive growth anymore for at least the foreseeable future in the game. And so I think that that's something where when teams look at it, they're just like, okay, well, let's go where we know we have fans. And we can already play to those fans, like Liverpool going to Fenway. That makes a lot of sense with the synergy, but maybe just not these huge stadiums either, where it's like, we draw 9,000,
or like you said, or like Man City going to New York City, where they obviously have a foothold in there, and I mean that's that's understandable, and like you said, with the growth of the game, especially television wise, it's kind of like an oil rush. You found the oil, so immediately, the numbers through the roof because, well, this is brand new. I mean, this is so new, what else is there? Well, now I think you'll see continued growth. You just won't see this massive double-digit number of growth every year. But, you still are going to get the people coming over. And also, soccer now is getting bigger with the younger generations.
Yeah, sure.
And so these kids who, instead of getting you and me when we're in our 20s, you're going to start, that market's going to start drying up as far as new fan base. But the thing is, you're getting kids now when they're 8, 9, 10 years old. So when they're 20 years old, they're already going to be established. They're established fans by the time they're 20, instead of getting a lot of new 20-year-olds at once.
Certainly, and I think that is the next crop that they're going to need to start looking to push those growths forward. It's just, I think a couple of years ago we saw how big the sport was getting, and it was kind of this weird inflection point where the NFL was also going through a lot of bullshit, and it's like, can maybe the gaps start to close a little bit, and maybe soccer can get up to that towards that NBA NFL level? It's like, no, it's actually not going to do that. But that doesn't mean it can't still continue to grow. And this might be blasphemous considering what our other sports love is. It could still one day pass baseball. Like that's a distinct possibility the way the game is starting to go right now.
Yeah.
With
and also just the way, the two sports that you and I don't really.
That's true.
The NBA, ratings wise, I mean, there's well, now the NFL has their issues now, but the NFL definitely has their issues. But the NBA is very popular, and I mean, we personally may not care for it much, but the NBA does have stars. They have interesting storylines. I think the NBA is actually in a really healthy place right now.
Agreed.
Where the NFL, on the other NFL now, their bottom line is healthy.
Yeah.
But I mean, there is just so much shit around the NFL. And another thing, there's a limit to what European soccer will do in this country just because it's not in this country.
Sure.
I mean, it is an international sport that we're kind of importing over here. And I don't think MLS is ever going to get to that level. MLS is going to be a nice, maybe 5th or 6th sport in this country. I just don't think I don't think MLS is ever going to get to the level of where baseball is by any means.
Sure. So that is our take on that. Again, that might be even better discussion to have on a day, maybe this summer when nothing else is really happening besides the
maybe when we start charging on Patreon, right?
There you go. That'll be subscriber exclusive episodes. There you go. We're
gonna split $1.50.
There you go. Oh, thanks, Mom, for the $3.
My mom took a hard pass.
Let's hit the news and notes real quick. Back to the Premier League, or at least down to the Championship. Gabriel Agbangalor is going to head out the door, and he is announcing his retirement. 14-year professional career is going to be over. 322 Premier League appearances, and he also scored, obviously, a lot of goals for Aston Villa. Very big part of their success while they were in the Premier League and trying to bring them back up from the Championship. He scored 36 goals over a 4-year span between 2007 and 2010 for Aston Villa, back when Aston Villa was actually a pretty darn good team in the Premier League. But since then, they have kind of fallen off, and he has decided to call time, and he will be heading to, I guess, greener pastures, you could say.
Sure.
So there you go.
You know, when it's time.
There you go. Hey, nobody's told that to Jose Mourinho, though.
Jesus. It's never time for Josie.
You know, or is it always time for Josie?
You know what? We'll say, as Ron Burgundy would say, I don't think that applies here. I pretty disagree.
Oh, Jose Mourinho is talking to Bleacher Report. Has already said he's wanting to come back. He's pegging June. He's already turned down a couple clubs.
So he says.
I can't imagine who those other clubs actually are, but he has apparently turned down some jobs. Of course, he was linked with Real Madrid, but that's not happening as far as we know because Zidane's back there. So as long as he doesn't leave at the end of the season again, probably not going to be open. Lyon's president has come out saying, like, yeah, you know, Lyon's president says, quote, if he can accept the economic situation that Lyon has today, then he could be an alternative solution. Exactly what you want to say about one of the great ones, the special one, as he called himself.
Managers in the world.
This is a bizarre situation. We, of course, have thrown out PSG as a potential destination, especially if what's the German's name that's over there right now? Former Dortmund guy.
Thomas Tuchel.
Thomas Tuchel, yes. Especially if he does not survive to the end of the year. That could be an interesting job. I have no idea how he would get on with presumably Neymar still being there and Kylian Mbappe. But that is one of the
well, if you believe the rumor mill, he may not have if he goes to PSG.
That's true.
If Zinedine Zidane gets his way. So.
Yeah. So I don't know, but maybe there's a return to Italy. I've heard if Juventus don't win the Champions League, then their boss is gone too. Allegri he's out the door. So maybe Mourinho takes that job, but I'm not shocked at all by Josie's confidence, but I look around and I don't see a Premier League job he really goes for, unless Chelsea really wants to roll the dice a third time. So at that point, it's like, okay, it's probably PSG or an Italian club, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, that's all we can think of at this point.
Yeah.
Unless he kind of takes a big time left turn and say one of these big nations wants to, replace their national coach going to Euros.
Do you think Josie could do national club football?
It's been out there forever.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's been widely assumed in the past that he was going to he's been interested in the England job.
Mm-hmm.
Which, God almighty, can you just imagine the circus?
Oh, God.
But, I mean, this was like 10 years ago. They were talking about, manager. He'll be...
Mm-hmm.
I think he said before, he would like to end his career maybe as the Portugal manager.
That would kind of make sense.
So, I mean, those are out there. I don't see where it would be. I just don't see where that's like a moment for him. But then again, I mean, I wouldn't rule anything out. But PSG, but PSG have already said, they're going back to Tuchel next year. Okay. Obviously Real Madrid is pretty much off the market now. You ain't going to Barcelona. So, I mean, yeah, maybe this, but I would almost think Juventus would have other options that weren't quite the circus that Mourinho was. And then, Mourinho, you have to think, Mourinho rubbed a lot of people the wrong way when he was at Inter back then.
That's true.
Now, that said, Spalletti at Inter has been a guy who's been perpetually on the hot seat for a while. Mm-hmm. Maybe a return to Inter Milan could be in the cards. But for Mourinho sets guidelines when he goes somewhere about how he wants money and he wants money spent. And, you almost got to think, just some of these Italian clubs, can they keep up with Josie's ambition monetarily?
Right.
I mean, Josie does not, as much as Josie wants to talk about everyone else spending money and not him, the numbers don't lie.
Yeah.
And, you can look at what he spent at Chelsea and you can look at what he has spent Manchester United. So.
Yeah, and that's what make things like what the Leon president saying, if you can accept the economic situation, it's like,
right.
Good luck with that.
Right, like if he can work within our boundaries. So,
good.
Yeah, it's just Mourinho's not gonna sell himself short.
No, not at all. So
yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. So Josie, it's been too long that he's been out of the headlines. So he's
had to get himself back in. Yeah, he's popping up on BT Sport every now and then, and
there you
he's
go.
just having a grand Mourinho time.
Grand Mourinho time. Well, that'll do it for the news and notes. Let's hit the watch for Wes. What are you watching in the week that was, or the week that will be?
I had a couple of interesting things. Haven't gotten the chance yet, but a show I've been looking forward to for a long time that I've talked to you about before. Mm-hmm. It has finally debuted this week. I believe it may have actually played earlier tonight, or it may actually be still recording as we speak. What We Do in the Shadows.
Oh yes, I think that is tonight. Yes.
It is a series about three vampires who have been roommates for hundreds and hundreds of years.
Yay!
Dark humor and hilarity ensue. That's all I'm looking for. I love a little dark humor in my life.
Absolutely.
Folks, if you have not seen Brooklyn Nine-Nine on NBC, you're still missing out. My God, Brooklyn Nine-Nine's been spectacular. It has been a fantastic season. I was especially enjoyable last week as Captain Holt tried to relate to Scully and Hitchcock and have just a casual conversation with them. And they told him about a new cream-based sauce at Wing Sluts.
We got to meet Rose's new girlfriend. That was cool.
That's right. We met Rose's new girlfriend. It has just been such a good season to me of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I think they've kicked it up a notch from where Fox was kind of letting it lag a little bit.
We got to meet
NBC's gone all in.
We got to meet Nick Galash's real father.
And not only that, Ed, we got to hear about Kevin's famous rice.
What will we do with the extra?
I literally rewound like 3 times just to hear him say Kevin's famous rice.
Oh, that's true. We could have it in the morning. That's true.
That's true.
I love you. Oh God, I love that show so much.
Yeah.
And Wes, I don't know if you've seen it. I have no idea what it's going to be about, but I do have an episode title for the season finale, season 6. Not series, because we know it's coming back.
Damn right it is.
But I have an episode title for episode 18 of the season, the final one. It's called The Suicide Squad.
Oh my sweet Jesus. I can only imagine Amy Santiago.
going to be nuts. Toit. Let's see. For my watch 4, I'm getting caught up on the second season of Mob Psycho 100, which is great. It's actually ending this weekend, so I'm glad I'm getting caught up now. Also, we can, I don't know if you want to or have time to do it. This is the first time we've been together since we've both seen Captain Marvel.
Let's, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Just because of A, my voice status, which is quickly deteriorating.
Okay.
And B, the fact that as we record right now, I have to be up in 5 hours so I can go to the gym before I go to work. Would you be interested in maybe doing a post-Darby Captain Marvel?
Oh, I think we could work something like that out.
You know, we could convene, maybe do a little Liverpool Tottenham post Derby to put into next week's pod. Mm-hmm. Just our instant reactions, or we could just sit and we could do a Captain Marvel addendum.
Yeah.
Or even a Captain Marvel, just its own little mini pod.
Yeah, we could do a lot of things, but I'm down with that.
Because we're also, as of right now, Ed, we are officially less than a month away.
Oh my God.
Endgame comes out on the 26th of April. At this moment, we're 25 minutes away from the 28th of March kicking over. So we're less than a month away from Endgame, right?
Oh my God.
So, there's so much coming down. And just real quick. And like I said, it sounds more and more like we're about to have to do. It's being leaked that like more than half of the scenes in the trailers are not actually in the movie.
Which makes sense because that's kind of what they did with Infinity War.
Exactly. We thought we had an idea. Now it's like, oh, you don't even know what the hell's going on.
Oh no.
So Marvel is just fucking with us.
Which good for them. Good for them.
Absolutely. In this day and age, if you can get away and pull that, good for you guys.
Yeah.
It just makes me that much more excited to see Endgame. I'm also just very excited that I'm off that Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Plan to be in Greenville literally for the first show.
There you go. Have you, real quick before we go, we won't talk about Captain Marvel until our addendum. But I sent you the Rocket one. Have you seen the other posters?
I have seen some of the other posters. The Rocket one is it's just so heartbreaking.
God, that one's depressing. I also did not realize the Shuri one is grayscale, which means apparently Shuri's dead.
She did disappear.
I don't think we saw that.
I thought Shuri did.
I don't think that was shown on camera.
Shuri did.
I think the only Black Panther person we saw eat it was Black Panther. Because his bodyguard woman, who I'm so sorry, I'm forgetting her name.
We know it's Michonne from Walking Dead.
Yes.
Danny Gurria, I think's her name. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't remember her Black Panther name. Sorry.
So yeah, unfortunately, it does look like Shuri bit the dust, literally. But yeah, guys.
They've misled us so much.
That's true.
We have no idea what's going on. Bravo to you, Mark.
I know. I'm so ready. This is, my body is so ready for this. But that will have to wait for another podcast. Also, real quick, Wes thankfully texted me in the middle. We will have a big WWE Wrestlemania preview next week. We can finally stop pointing to the sign, so that's awesome. I will do then my own mini So Raw. Charlotte Flair's pissed at ESPN because they had her, Becky Lynch, and Ronda Rousey on for an interview, and one of the graphic they put on her for the lower third was Ric Flair's daughter. And for the others, they put on their actual accomplishments. Although I feel like I remember for the Ronda Rousey, they put she's the daughter of Roddy Piper.
Which is so not true at all. But anyway.
Which is why, at first, I thought this whole thing was like a shoot. because I just saw pictures of it, and so I thought this was like, they're memeing on her in there. They're trying to build up Becky Lynch, because then Becky Lynch like tweeted about it, and I was like, oh, okay, that's good on you. ESPN's in on the joke, ha ha ha. And then like Charlotte Flair came out, and maybe this is also part of a shoot, but like kind of went after ESPN in a pissy way for not putting her accomplishments on the bottom of the screen. So now I don't know anymore.
It could be a straight up part of the work.
It could be.
That's the thing.
It could be. We don't know. So anyway, that's the mini So Raw for the week. That's big exciting though. I'm sure we'll hear more about that next week. But that will do it then for this edition of the Foreign Affair Podcast, episode 254. Big thanks as always still to NGSC Sports, as well as Alicia's Pillows and Things. You can find them on the social media, as well as us on Twitter as a collective. We are at AFA Pod. Wes, you are?
I'm at West Bradshaw 21.
I am at Edward Green. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube via our parent show, The All News Sports Show. You can also email us at that address, allnewsportshow@gmail.com. Thanks to our podcast providers, including podbean.com, Stitcher, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, the TuneIn Radio app, Google Play Music, and the iTunes Music Store. Maybe one day we'll even make a mobile game and we can be on Apple Arcade. One day. You can just play as Latan. Oh, damn, that's already been made. So we'll figure out something, though. And obviously, you can still check out all our podcasts on there. So that'll do it. Again, we'll be back live next week for episode 255. We'll have a Premier League weekend recap. We'll probably be throwing a spoiler cast on the end of it, so you'll know exactly how long it is, because it'll be the last thing on the pod for Captain Marvel. And it'll be great, and it'll be so much fun. And, of course, a Foreign Affair Podcast derby this weekend as Liverpool host Tottenham. Before we get out of here, Wes, is there anything else your dying throat wants to add?
We touched on it at the beginning of the show, that news came across, at least for us. Brian Goodwin claimed off waivers today, just in the last few hours by the Los Angeles Angels.
This was going to be a much more depressing Brian Goodwin update until a few hours ago.
Yeah, it was. And then all this kind of happened, and it got good. So Brian Goodwin going to... And we made the comment earlier, for all of our 252 brethren, of course, that's right here, Eastern North Carolina. Ed was 252, though, folks. He's gone 919.
I went Hollywood.
He's in Hollywood of North Carolina.
or what is it? What is it? Inside the Beltway? ITV?
Yeah, you're ITV.
I'm ITV now.
So, and that's great and all, but 252. Folks, right now, all three sports in Los Angeles represented by Nash, Edgecombe, and Lenoir County.
Hell yeah. And
what am I saying? Well, Brian Goodwin from good old Rocky Mount High School is now playing for the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Todd Gurley, you may have heard of him, of course, the superstar running back for the Los Angeles Rams from Tarboro. And then a trio of Kinston, North Carolina basketball players. Kinston, a little 45-minute drive from Rocky Mount. Back in the old day, God, Rocky Mount, Kinston. Rocky Mount High School versus Kinston High School. Jesus, you want to talk about a rivalry. They were, especially on the basketball court. But they have three Los Angeles-based players. The Los Angeles Clippers have Montrezl Harrell from North Edgecombe in Edgecombe County. They have Reggie Bullock from Kinston, and then the Los Angeles Lakers have the former number 2 pick Brandon Ingram from Kinston. So, man, the 252 is well represented in Hollywood right now. Brian Goodwin, Ty Gurley, Montrezl Harrell, Reggie Bullock, and Brandon Ingram. So it's kind of cool, man. Brian Goodwin, the first Rocky Mount player to ever make it, and now, playing in Anaheim, and has a chance that he's going to play quite a bit this year. Mike Trout's a center fielder. Goodwin is more of a corner outfielder. So there are spots in the corner outfield for the Angels right now.
Hell yeah. Yeah,
boy.
That is pretty damn awesome. So congratulations to Mr. Brian Goodwin. Hope you do some good things up there in the LA. But that is going to do it for us here on the AFA pod. Thanks so much for joining us this week. Again, we'll be back next week for more awesomeness here. For my partner and my calling cry, I'm Wes Bradshaw. I am Edward Green. Thanks so much for joining us here on episode 254 of the Foreign Affair podcast. Until next time, everyone, stay safe and enjoy the football.
Good night, Scotland. Just close your eyes.
It'll be over.
Close Close your eyes and enjoy the darkness.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
I've come to talk with you.
Oh, depressing.
This show is sponsored by Alicia's Pillows and Things. Check out the Facebook page, Alicia's Pillows and Things, where you will find home decor you will not be able to resist at prices anybody can afford. Check out the pillows and stools of your favorite sports teams. Maybe you want a set of your kid's favorite cartoon or movie character. You can also get full body and neck pillows as well. Log on to ngscsports.com and go to the Alicia's Pillows and Things tab on the homepage to complete your order. It makes a great gift for Christmas at an affordable price. NGSC Sports. We never stop.
You're listening to NGSC Sports Radio. Hear us live on ngscsports.com, where you can get awesome analysis for all things sport. Or check out our podcasts on iHeartRadio, Spreaker, iTunes, TuneIn, and much more. For our latest videos, head to NGSC Sports YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter at NGSC Sports and like us on Facebook. NGSC Sports. We never stop.